Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Middle Tennessee State University Audit and Compliance Committee meeting to order. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for accommodating the schedule to be able to have this meeting on the originally scheduled dates. Very much appreciate that. Ms. Zimmerman, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Trustee Boyd?
Here.
Trustee Karbawiak?
Here.
Trustee Martin?
Here.
Trustee Smith? We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman. I'd like to move to the first item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. It is an action item, and you can find them behind tab number 1. I trust that everyone has had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any changes, any conversation, edits? If not, I'd like to have a motion for approval. Second?
Do you have to be on a committee to?
Yes.
Second.
Any abstention? I'm sorry, all in favor? Aye. Negative? Abstentions? Motion is passed. Next item on the agenda is also an action item for approval. It is the annual report for audit and consulting services. You can find that behind tab 2 in your books. So that would be Brenda.
Yes. Presented for your review and approval is the 2019 Annual Report for Audit and Consulting Services, which is required by state law, the board bylaws, and the board policy on board committees. The report includes a summary of the audit effort for 2019, the status of the 2019 audit plan, a summary of the investigative review activity, a report of the audit office resources, and the audit plan for 2020 fiscal year. The report is an approval item on the agenda because MTSU Policy 70 requires the Audit and Compliance Committee to approve the annual audit plan, which is on page 6 of the report. That concludes my comments on the annual report, unless there are questions.
Are there any questions? If not, this is an item for approval, and so I would ask for a motion.
I move to approve the report.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is adopted and it is approved. The next item on the agenda can be found behind tab 3. It is the results of the external reviews. This is for information purposes. And there are 2 items. 1, Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, Office of Criminal Justice Programs. And second, the Comptroller's Investigative Report, MTSU Office of International Affairs.
Yes, there have been reports from 2 external agencies, and as Trustee Karbawiak mentioned, the first is the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, Office of Criminal Justice Programs. They issued 2 reports concerning their on-site review of the Victims of Crime Act grant funding. There were no findings of noncompliance with the financial monitoring review. The report on program monitoring included 5 findings, and the finding titles are listed in your meeting materials. Management implemented corrective action and submitted their corrective action plan to the Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration. The department agreed to the corrective action, adequately addresses the findings, and is in compliance with the grant requirements. And then the Office of the Comptroller of the Treasury released an investigative report concerning the misappropriation of funds by the former international recruiter in the Office of International Affairs. The report also included an internal control deficiency of improper reimbursements of meal per diem when meals were provided with the registration fees, which is not in compliance with university policy. Management has taken corrective action by requiring stricter review of the international recruiter's travel. And then after the misappropriation was discovered, the business office revised the travel procedures to require direct payment of expenses with vendors when possible, and travel advances require justification of the expenses that require cash payments. And since I'm discussing the topic of external reviews, the state auditors have returned to campus to complete the financial audit for fiscal year 2019. And that concludes my report.
Are there any comments or questions?
I had a question.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No.
On the first one with the Victims of Crime Act. There were some references in the objectives and the 5 findings to grants. What grants?
It's because what they were reviewing was the grant funding, that particular grant program.
Is that program always on a grant?
Yes.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
The review was for the funding they provided for that grant program.
Right.
So that's all they were reviewing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just like to add a follow-up regarding the International Affairs audit. In our last meeting of this committee, I had told the committee that I will prepare a letter, an information that would go out to the campus, just reiterating the university policies regarding travel, reimbursement, et cetera. And we have, with the help of auditor, we have developed a draft of that communication. I'm holding it actually until another week or two when all of our employees, particularly our faculty, are on campus. Classes start on Monday, and I'll be issuing that to the campus, just a reminder of the policies with regards to international travel.
Thank you. Just another question. Do we know when the trial for this individual will be held?
No, according to the newspaper article, his arraignment is August the 29th.
Okay. So I think it would be great at some at subsequent audit committee meetings if we could, if you have any additional information, updated information on trial status, that would be great.
Okay.
And then in connection with that, it'll be interesting to know if there are any witnesses that are employees of MTSU that will be required to participate in that trial.
Okay. We'll do that.
Was there a time period over which these inappropriate actions occurred? Approximately.
Yes. No, I have it right here. I should have it committed to memory, but I don't.
Ballpark?
August 2012 through June of 2016,
Okay, thank you.
which was during his employment time with the university.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you for that update and for that information. The next item is with respect to compliance and enterprise risk management update, also for information purposes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In April 2019 of this year, the Criminal Division of the Department of Justice actually updated its evaluation of compliance programs. And actually, if you recall last year, they issued out the Philippi elements. These are 3 additional questions that the DOJ looks at to determine if an organization's compliance program is effective. And the first question is the corporation's compliance program well designed? The second question is the program being applied earnestly and in good faith? And the third question is, does the corporation have a compliance program that actually works in practice? And the information that you have before you are examples of the work that MTSU has been doing to ensure that we not only have a compliance program, but that it is working in good faith and effective. One such example is that we annually provide, whether it's in person or electronic, we provide annual ethics training for our pharmacy staff and employees, including student workers. We also provide HIPAA privacy and security training. Everyone now is also receiving annual FERPA training, and we are editing those and reviewing those training modules on an annual basis. And also, we do annually Title IX, Title VI, and Title VII training as well. And so those are just some of the ways that we continue to ensure that the university as a whole is aware of our compliance program, as well as annually reviewing our policies and procedures to make sure that they're effective. And then going on to the second part of the program application and good faith efforts, I use the example of our records management efforts because, as you know, just about 2 years ago, the State Records Management Division changed its procedures, and now all state universities have to submit an annual records holding report. And for the second year in a row, MTSU has delivered that report by June 30th, and we are the only state agency, according to the Records Management Division, that submits its report on time and early. And actually, we've received several compliments from the director of the Records Management Division, so we work very closely with him. And we issue out, again, additional trainings and monthly compliance tips on various issues. And then finally, we also have now a compliance and enterprise risk management hotline number that we didn't have before. So we had a fraud, waste, and abuse number that Audit and Consulting Services manages, and now we have a compliance hotline number that's available, and that was just issued. And finally, with regard to the program's work and practice, I think we continue to streamline and improve our internal control procedures, and when we see deficiencies, we definitely try to address those as well. And so our compliance program and risk management program is an ongoing process with annual review, and sometimes the review is even sooner than annually. That concludes my report.
Any comments or questions?
When somebody calls the compliance hotline or the waste, fraud, abuse hotline, do they have to identify themselves?
They can, or they can make it anonymous. We just ask that they provide details, but they don't have to inform us of their name.
And so you said that the hotline was just rolled out between the last report and now.
Correct.
How did we make sure that we sort of socialize the fact that it exists?
So in my compliance temp for the month of August, I actually announced the compliance hotline number. And so, again, this hotline number is actually quite new. And one of the reasons that we also instituted this hotline and sent it out publicly to the entire university was to ensure that in the event that there were after-hours needs, that we could get those messages pretty quickly on our phones through Skype for Business. So that is how we've been able to inform the campus about it. We sent the information through a compliance tip. We're also going to be adding it to my department's website. And then as we roll out training for the year for ethics and FERPA and other trainings annually, I'll be reminding people of the compliance hotline again.
So one comment or question, have you considered the idea of perhaps, like in the student union and other areas where students gather, to put posters up that just says, here's the, see something, say something,
Okay.
compliance hotline, you can be kept anonymous, all that other stuff. Just because sometimes people, if they see it, and they're aware of something that's going on that they feel needs to be reported, that's just a gentle reminder that perhaps would help further indicate that this really is a very effective implementation.
We can certainly do that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And then one last question, and that is, where do the calls go? Do they go to an independent sort of organization that gathers the information and then transmits it, or where does the call go?
It goes through our university telecom, and actually the phone number is set up so that it also hits our email inbox. So there's actually an email inbox that is associated with the number, and the voicemails can come up either through the inbox or on my cell phone, through the Skype for Business app, which is protected also by our ITD.
Okay. And then are you the individual who reviews them, or is there a team that reviews them?
So I review them, as well as two members of my team, Hector Del Collar and Ms. Carol Lewis, who will soon be a member of my team.
Oh, excellent.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
So when you send out your compliance tips, that goes to the subscriber's email, right?
It goes to all subscribers, but if you find that you're not getting it, please do let me know.
Okay.
Yes.
Because this is not limited to students. This is faculty,
This is faculty
staff.
and staff, yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
When you receive those, is the calling number blocked? So you don't know the number?
So far, no. When we've done test runs of the compliance hotline number, I can tell what the number is and who it's from, unless the caller blocks the number, and the caller can block the number if they so choose to do so. We did have one ITD technician who actually blocked her cell phone number just to see if that would work, and it does, and it shows up as a block number, as a block call. But when the calls are coming in, it doesn't automatically block the number.
Is that a big IT fix to block them?
I can certainly check with them to see if that's something that could be done. And actually, my department is having a retreat today, or we had one starting this morning. We'll be continuing after this meeting. And one of the ITD agents will actually be meeting with us about the hotline number. So I can certainly ask them at that time.
I'm sure the students are a lot smarter than me, and they can block their number, but I wouldn't know how to block my number. So
either.
maybe there's one other person out there that wouldn't know how to do that. So.
Okay,
That would be me.
all right. I will certainly ask as early as this
Tell them I can
afternoon.
teach you how to do it.
Thank you, Darryl.
It's the one thing I do know how to do.
Any other comments or questions? Thanks. Great work.
Thank you very
Really,
much.
really good work.
It takes a team, so thank you. And I also have great support from Vice President Allen, my boss, and also our General Counsel Heidi and her team, as well as the collaboration of all the other vice presidents, so, and President McPhee, so I'm very grateful.
And not
for their
only on
support.
the implementation, but also on timeliness. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the healthcare and HIPAA compliance information update.
Yes.
That would be behind tab 5, and that's also Janae.
Thank you, Madam Chair, again. This is also just for information purposes. Because there have been updates to the business associate agreements and business associates liability that HHS has put out this year, we wanted to make sure that we also updated our HIPAA policy to reflect that. We also have departments on campus who also handle medical records. And so this year, we have done a review, for example, of the speech and hearing clinic to help get them ready for their state licensing agency. And so that was very successful. So we've updated the policy. We provide annual training, and we're in the midst of updating that training this year, and it will roll out again in November. We rolled it out last year as well. And what is also new is that we put together, with the support of Campus Pharmacy and Health Services, an operational guide that if an auditor or anyone were to ask about the operations of health services or Campus Pharmacy, there's something documented that indicates what their procedures are for protecting pharmaceutical drugs, for ensuring that they receive proper identification from patients and clients, and related to healthcare billing. And so I'm very, very actually proud of Health Services and Campus Pharmacy, which falls under Vice President Deb Sell's area. And so they've worked very closely with me and very well. All of the members, or most of the management members of Health Services and Pharmacy, are also members of a subcommittee of my Enterprise Compliance and Risk Management Committee of the university. So they've been doing great work, and we're very pleased. And they seem very pleased with their new operations guide as well.
Any
And that concludes my
comments or
report.
questions? Again, Janae, great work.
Thank you.
And I think obviously the critical piece is just to continue training
Yes.
and reminders on a periodic basis.
Thank you. Actually, of the 58 employees that Health Services and Pharmacy has, all of them took the HIPAA privacy and security training. All of them completed it, and they actually liked the training videos. So we received some feedback, so
They
we were
really
grateful.
do?
I'm sorry?
You really do like the video?
They actually said they really liked, they also liked that it was not just one streamless video because there's so many parts. We actually separated them out, and so they liked that they were separate so they could take one and then, go back and do their work and come back and take others. So
Very good.
as much as you can like HIPAA privacy and security, I think, we're grateful that they at least took it and understood it, so.
Very good. Any comments, questions? The final bit of management update is also from Janae, the European Union GDPR.
Thank you, Madam
Compliance
Chair.
and International Partnerships update.
So not much to report here, except that we continue to track each semester the number of employment applicants, students, and active employees that we have that inform us that they are EU citizens or dual citizens. And so you'll find that on the second page of the report. Right now, we have notated 335 employment applicants from the EU, 125 students, just a small increase from July, as of July, and then active employees 27. And again, that's just those who have reported that they were EU citizens. And while Article 35 of GDPR does require what's called a data protection impact assessment, which is just to ensure that an organization's data protection mechanisms and models are up to date and that they are protecting EU citizens' data, we don't have enough activity yet to do that. However, our ITD division does a wonderful job in ensuring the data protection of our student data and our staff data and our employees' data. And so the 6 items that you see in the report just give you a synopsis of some of the things that we are already doing to protect the data, not just of EU students and employees, but of all of our staff and employees. And that includes the daily monitoring of security information and events. I also receive still quarterly security reports that are compiled. And ITD also does annual data protection training and software updates, as well as multi-factor authentication. And I work very closely with them on this. So we're very pleased so far because we're also continuing to implement a software called Secure Send, which is also a secure way of faxing and transmitting data when you have private attachments that might contain personal identifying information or any other secure data. And so far, a great many of our departments have uploaded and worked with ITD to get Secure Send. So we feel pretty comfortable with what we have in place currently and what we continue to update in ITD, such that right now, I don't see the need for doing the full data protection impact assessments unless we had more of a footprint in the EU.
So just one comment, though.
Yes.
There is, if it's not legislation, it may already be a statute in California that is similar to GDPR, and in fact, may be stricter in some cases than in others. So I think it's important that we expand our horizons beyond GDPR.
Okay.
And the other challenge is there is no federal regulation at this point, so the states are, like California, others are also engaging in data and privacy protection activities, with the result that there's a potential of having a lot of very different and potentially conflicting requirements. So I don't know if that is something in your area, Janae, or if it's in Heidi's area, to kind of keep monitoring the state of legislation across the 50 states. This is something that's on the company that I work for on our radar to try to figure out where are we doing business across all 50 states, and you may get applicants from all over. So just to be aware of that and to maybe do a little bit of investigatory work to see if there are some issues that need to be addressed
Absolutely.
I think the California thing comes into effect in 2020.
Okay. Definitely take a look at that.
So, yeah, if we could, and I'm sure that there are services out there that are continuing to monitor this because it's a hot button area. So there's that one. And then the second question I've got is, do we have cookies on our website that kind of gather information about the people that visit the website? And do we have, if we do we have the opt-out button?
Yes.
Okay.
So as student applicants apply, they are sent to a screen that tells them the kind of information that we collect, because this is also required by EU GDPR, what we do with that information, and it gives them the option to opt out. If they say no, then they don't continue with the rest of the information. If they say yes, they go right into our suite of offerings, whether it be programs or the application. So we do have an opt-out button. It is still working, and we do use cookies. And so that information also is advertised.
Okay.
And to your first point about the legislation, so I definitely will follow up with that and work with General Counsel Heidi and ITD on that as well. For this year's National Compliance and Ethics Week program that my office will be doing, one of the things on our agenda and one of the speakers that we will have will discuss data security and cybersecurity, because it is such a hot button topic, as you said. And so that is one of our agenda items, actually.
Great.
Yeah,
I didn't know that National Compliance and Ethics had their own week.
we do.
We need a year.
Well, it is all year, but we do get to celebrate one week. So, yes.
I got you.
And Madam Chair, I think it'd be appropriate with this discussion to point out the growing number of regulations, state, federal, and others, that organizations like MTSU and other businesses, large organizations, must keep up with. And it does put pressure on the staffing. And that is something that I have put as a priority. I noticed in one of the reports, there is a reference to an additional staff in that office. It is something that we just cannot ignore, but it does come with a cost. And I think when you balance the risks and cost benefit, we tend to think that we need to find the resources to make sure that we are in compliance in these issues. Just want to add, as you mentioned with California, and there'll be another 48 states, and each year there are additional regulations coming out of the federal government. It is a tremendous amount of work to be kept up with.
You raise a really important point. In the company that I work for, we actually had to add a person whose full-time responsibility is cyber privacy and just privacy regulations and data privacy. That's what she does. And then she relies on resources that are already in place in other parts to kind of make sure that proper steps are being taken. But you're absolutely right, that there was just way too much going on for it simply to be a bolt-on job for someone.
Correct.
And I do want to compliment Janae and her team of really keeping on top of these issues and concerns. And I've been in a number of meetings with her and her team, and I'm quite impressed with the detail, the attention given, obviously, in an organization this size.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very much. And I do need to give some compliments again to ITD. The Vice President, Bruce, is not here today, but we do have a Director of Security, and we have an Assistant Vice President who is also over our overall cybersecurity. And so I'm happy to say that I work very closely with the two of them on issues from HIPAA privacy and security and training to ensuring that departments are up to speed with Secure Send and sending documents securely rather than faxing them. And so it takes a team effort, because also General Counsel Heidi has an attorney in her office who also tracks legislation. So we all work together to make it happen. So I could not do that without the support of some of those offices as well. But I'm grateful for the support of this committee as well as the president and you. And so thank you very much.
Great job. Great. Any other comments or questions on these updates?
One last quick question. If you look at the trajectory for passing over the benchmark for the GDPR, is that likely to happen anytime soon, or that's something down the road that we can manage pretty easily to be ahead of?
So, not to give you a legal answer, but it depends. It depends on our expanding footprint overseas. It depends on whether or not we will open additional programs or have additional partnerships and MOUs with EU countries. If we will do any direct marketing with EU countries, and if we do, then I can see us transitioning into more and then having to do some of those and document some of those actual data impact assessments, which, again, because of the work that is already being done in our data security and in our ITD security area, should not be a huge jump or a huge lift. But I do think that, as the university expands its reach or its footprint, then it's possible that we may have more interaction with EU GDPR. And some of the European countries, according to the news, are still grappling even with the regulation, and other larger organizations, private organizations. So we'll be keeping our eye on the regulation as well as the EU GDPR Commission to see what happens next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? If not, we will now be going into executive session, and then we will return into a public session. The first portion of the committee meeting concerning public matters is now complete. We will now go into executive session for a discussion concerning risk assessments, audits, and investigations. No business other than these items will be considered during this non-public session. Following the executive session, we will come back into public session to vote on approval of the risk assessment reports. For those who wish to attend this public session, an announcement will be made in the hall outside this room when we begin that session. I must now ask that everyone other than the board members, the president, our chief audit executive, the assistant director for audit and consulting services, the assistant vice president for compliance and enterprise risk management, and our legal counsel, all others, please leave the room. Okay, at this point, I would like to reconvene the public session in order to provide the committee an opportunity to accept the risk assessment report that was presented during the non-public session.
I move that we accept the report.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The report is accepted on behalf of the committee. Thank you very much. At that point, I'd like to open it up to the floor to see if there is any new business that needs to be discussed or any comments. There being none, I'd like to have a motion to close this committee meeting.
I move that we close the committee meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Objections? Done.
Objections. We need to go another hour.
Very good.